Marijuana's recent time in the spotlight and the grow light may have many states seeing green this November. On Election Day this year, voters in several states will decide whether or not marijuana should be made legal for recreational use by adults. Other states will have medical marijuana measures on the ballot. In either case, cannabis is riding a positive wave that is made out of mountains of money.
As first, I would start by asking which way you're most comfortable consuming, whether it be smoke.
In 2000, the state constitution of Colorado was amended by voters to allow patients and caregivers the legal right to grow and use medical marijuana. A decade later, activists for medical cannabis pushed for a state-regulated distribution system in the hopes of keeping the legal dispensaries up and running in the Mile High City. The bill that passed gave structure to a fledgling industry that, in the eyes of the federal government, is illegal. Industry insiders, like Meg Sanders, the CEO of the cannabis retail store Mindful, describe the early days of the business as being a bit like the Wild West.
Most of us that are still in this industry today kept telling ourselves this is what has to happen when you're building an industry and a business, and it's highly regulated of all of these things, of which at that time frame we were all growing enough plants to go to federal prison. We just were.
In 2012, the voters changed Colorado's constitution again to become the first state in the U.S. to approve recreational use of marijuana for adults by adopting Amendment 64. The new law made the tiny and heavily regulated medical marijuana industry a model for blossoming retail enterprises. Growers and governments on either side of the Continental Divide were pushed under the microscope. Officials in other states and countries around the world were watching how the details of producing and selling recreational cannabis will get sorted out.
What's really interesting about that time frame of when legalization happened here in this state, it changed everything about the dynamic of the industry, including it becoming much more legitimized.
And with that legitimacy came a lot of cash. On January 1st, 2014, 18 retail marijuana stores opened in the city of Denver. In the first year of business, the marijuana industry added $22 million to the city's general fund. For fiscal year 2015, taxable revenue from cannabis sales made up 2.5% of Denver's budget, adding almost $30 million to the city's coffers. In 2016, gross marijuana sales of retail and medical cannabis reached just over $853 million in the city and county of Denver. And just over $9 million in taxes from marijuana sales has been injected into various city departments, including education, law enforcement, and public health. For growers, Amendment 64 has brought new players.
What's nice is we're actually seeing the smart money come to the table that is actually not just bringing money, but they're bringing resources, they're bringing their talents, and they're investing not just their dollar, but themselves into this space.
Yeah, usually they come in 10 servings. When you have the
Currently, there are 221 dispensaries conducting business in Denver. The Mile High City put a cap on new storefronts, and officials are keeping a close eye on the new money and ideas coming to the table. Dan Rowland, a policy and communications advisor with the City of Denver, says that for the business to continue thriving, pro-pot or not, requires a well-balanced relationship between city, industry, and community.
There's no sense in trying to put it back in the box. This is something that, the voters asked for and wanted. We knew there was demand for it and a marketplace for it. It's more about managing it correctly and making sure that everyone's voices is heard in the process and understanding what the effects are on the city and managing those appropriately.
Some of the industry's growing pains include what to do with all the profits. Because marijuana is labeled a Schedule I narcotic by the federal government, bank officials are refusing to accept any money from cannabis retailers for fear of losing their federal insurance. Dispensary owners are left to make all of their deals in cash.
I feel like we go above and beyond in our communities. We're always going to have people that just don't care for this.
As Denver and other Colorado communities blaze retail trails for cannabis, everything that happens will be closely monitored by the worldwide community. The issue of marijuana legalization will be appearing on ballots in November of 2016. California, Nevada, Maine, and Massachusetts are considering recreational use, while Missouri, Arkansas, and Florida have put medical marijuana up for a vote.
Very nice triangle kush right there.
And as the business of growing and selling marijuana gains momentum, industry insiders say it's only the beginning.
Right now, I think we're dealing with, this tiny little finite amount of customer base. And then you never have enough product. That's the one thing in Colorado, there just is still not enough product. It's amazing to me.
For Market to Market, I'm John Torpy.